Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kyle Serba, and I'm your host for this evening's 10th anniversary celebration series kickoff event. Thank you so much for joining us on this special occasion. On this date, August 11th, back in 2011, North Carolina Central University received a letter from the NCAA confirming the university's active membership in Division I athletics. That moment of celebration was preceded by years of hard work and many challenges, including a 5-year reclassification process. But those challenging times set the foundation for the extraordinary success NCCU has achieved during its brief time as a Division I program. Our special guests this evening are quite familiar with the work that it took for NCCU to become a Division I program, and they are here to take us through that journey. Neither of them requires a lengthy introduction with this crowd, so I will keep it brief. Our first guest is the legendary Bill Hayes. He was an All-American football player at NCCU, a Hall of Fame coach, and an award-winning athletics director. He served as the AD at NCCU from 2003 to 2007, leading the program to 10 CIAA championships during his tenure, and overseeing the early stages of the reclassification process. Thank you for joining us, Coach Hayes.
It's a pleasure. It's great seeing everybody also.
What's that?
Great seeing everybody. I haven't seen you all in a while.
Indeed, indeed. And next, Dr. Ingrid Wicker McCree. She arrived at NCCU in 1994 as the head volleyball and softball coach, becoming the first coach in NCCU history to win conference championships in multiple sports. While still coaching, she also served as an athletics administrator, overseeing internal operations, until her appointment as the AD in 2008. She has earned numerous awards both as a coach and an AD, and is currently a member of the NCAA Division I Council. Welcome, Dr. McCree.
Hey!
And before we get started with our conversation, let's set the stage by taking a look back at this journey with a short video.
Central University, welcome back home.
So I hope that this is part of my legacy and my staff's legacy.
After enjoying years of success at the Division II level, we began a new journey at the Division I level 10 years ago. And what came next was something special.
The NC Central Eagles make the short trip to Chapel Hill and knock off the Tar Heels.
We've flown to new heights at the Division I level, and now we're ready to keep soaring into a new Eagle era.
Big cut, and there's nobody there. Foot race 20, dives for the pylon, and touchdown! Carter Williams, 200th of his career, first Eagle to reach 200 in a single career.
Well, trying to come up around the shoulder.
For the fourth time in the Division I era, North Carolina Central are your regular season Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference champions.
Some great memories there flashing back. You guys remember some of those times, don't you, Coach Hayes, Dr. McCree?
Oh, yeah.
All of them.
Well, talking about taking a look back, in 2003, the NCCU Board of Trustees approved the establishment of a reclassification task force looking into the potential reclassification from Division II to Division I athletics. Coach Hayes, you were hired as the Director of Athletics at NCCU in 2003. When did you first hear about the possibility of transitioning to Division I, and what were your thoughts?
Well, actually, I was hired in 2003 in the spring of 2003, and Dr. James Ammons, who was chancellor at that time, asked me to come down in June to Durham and get reacclimated to North Carolina Central. And my marching orders were to come down the 1st of June, take an office in the administration building, in a cubbyhole in the administration building, and wander around campus and meet as many people as I could to try to reestablish relationships that I built years before. So I came down in June and wandered around. I think in July of 2003, I was officially the athletics director, and I began putting staff together. Didn't hear anything about the Division I quest until probably October of 2003, when Dr. Ammons challenged me, gave me the charge to start the process to take North Carolina Central to Division I. And well, that was a strange time, because the first thing that we had to do was try to find out whether or not our alumni would be receptive to that, to going to Division I. You know, everybody was really in love with the CIAA, and of course I had Ingrid and you and a group of dedicated people at my side who gave me a tremendous amount of support. So I had the right kind of support going forward, but my job was to go out and search the alumni and see how they felt about it, and see what kind of support they would give us in moving forward. And that was a challenge.
All right, Dr. McCree, in 2003, you were wearing a lot of different hats, primarily as the volleyball head coach, but also as an athletics department administrator. What were your initial thoughts about the move to D1?
So I think I was still doing compliance, writing, coaching. I was teaching over in, now it's called the kinesiology department. And so I just remember, you know, I started my career in Division I at North Carolina State and North Carolina A&T. And so I was very familiar with just the gist of Division I as a coach. I think I felt a little overwhelmed as a coach because I knew the rigors of recruiting and managing a Division I program. I think my daughter was not born yet, but she was getting ready to be born. And so I had to make a decision of whether or not I wanted to move forward with coaching on the Division I level and trying to raise a daughter with all those other hats. But I think to me, I love challenges. And so North Carolina Central has always been a progressive university. And I think that's one of the other reasons why I've stayed here so long, because we're always doing something new. And so knowing that Coach Hayes had our backs and he had a plan, and Chancellor Ammons had a plan, I was all on board as a team player. So I was excited about making that move.
Okay. The 2 seasons of competition from 2005 to 2007, the last 2 years of Division II, were the 2 best seasons in NCCU's Division II history in terms of their overall ranking in the annual Directors Cup. They finished 24th in the nation in 2006-07. During that time, NCCU captured 8 CIAA team championships. Coach Hayes, why do you think the Eagles achieved so much success during that time? And do you think that demonstrated that NCCU was ready to make the move to Division I?
I think so. I think I need to go back a little bit, though, to that 2003, 2004, those years when Ingrid and I started visiting alumni chapters. We really wanted to get buy-in from alumni chapters from North Carolina Central all over the East Coast. So we spent a lot of time during the week going to alumni meetings. Now, it was very discouraging during that first year, because our alumni love the CIAA. They made it very clear to us during that first year of exploration that they did not, under no terms, want to give up the CIAA tournament. That's the battle that we were fighting. So I remember trying our best to be positive with all the different alumni chapters and going to, I mean, we went to a chapter literally every week somewhere. I think
Don't forget about Vegas too, Coach. We went out to Vegas for like 24 hours.
that's correct. We went to Florida, went out to Vegas, but listen, Cal, in athletic terms, we kept getting knocked upside the head about the CIAA tournament. and so finally, I think after that first year, Dr. Ammons called me in, Bill, how we doing? Are we making good progress with the how does the alumni feel that? And I had to let him know. I said, look, the alumni don't want to lead CIAA. They don't want to do it. And so he said, well, maybe I need to get you some help. Maybe we need to hire a consultant. Ingrid, I hope you remember that Dr. Ammons hired us, James Fellingham.
Yeah.
Andrew Fellingham was his name.
And Bill Carr.
And Bill came down from New York. I think they stayed with us 3 days, and we rolled out what we were doing, how we were doing it, questions we were asking, points that we were making when we went to the alumni meeting. And so Fellingham looked at me. He said, Coach, you got it all wrong. He said, this is not about athletics. And I thought that was an amazing statement when he said, this is not about athletics. He said, you're going to Division I is going to give your institution the opportunity to align itself with schools like you. And right now, when we look at the CIAA, there are not any schools in the CIAA that are like North Carolina Central. Number one, you almost got 8,000 students. The average school in the CIAA at the time had between 3,500 and 1,500 students. Nobody in the CIAA had a program like Bright or a law school. And so that changed our whole perspective. So now when we go to the alumni meetings, we got some ammunition. And we stopped talking about who we were going to play in Division I. You remember? We stopped talking about who we were going to play in this football game or that football game. And how we started saying, how do you see yourself, alumni? Who do you want? Who do you envision yourself being like? Do you want to be like some of the schools in the CIAA with 1,100 students? Some of them got 3,500. Or do you see yourself being aligned with schools much larger, schools with programs like Florida A&M or pharmacy program? You know, you got a great Bright program. So what schools do you want to align yourself? And then the doors open for thought with the alumni. And they began to say the things like, you know, we kind of see ourselves academically like Howard or Hampton or some of those schools, you know. And so the whole perspective changed like overnight when we stopped talking about athletics. Do you remember? And it started getting a little bit easier. You know, one of the things that we did in Ingrid, one of the things that we may not give ourselves credit for is that we took the time to involve the alumni. We took the time. Now, while we're going through this process, there are other schools in the CIAA that are also headed for Division I along with us. And we communicated back and forth with those schools. However, those schools did not see the need to involve the alumni. And everybody that did involve the alumni in our quest fell by the wayside in the Division I process. I hope you remember that. But we did it the slow, hard way. We involved the alumni. We took a lot of beatings. We got knocked upside the head in those alumni meetings. We were cursed out for thinking that we ought to leave the CIAA tournament, if you remember. But we persevered, and we stayed the course, and we sold the values of aligning ourselves with schools with a mission like North Carolina Central, schools with law schools, schools with pharmacy schools with programs like Bright, schools with outstanding business programs. So we flipped it from an athletic perspective to an overall university growth perspective.
Dr. McCree, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's your memory, Coach Hayes. It's truly amazing. But I've always known that about you, but yeah, we really did travel all over the place. It was the first time I've ever been to Vegas, and I didn't get to do very much other than walk from one end to the other end because we had a meeting with the alums out there. But it was a very arduous process, and it was very challenging to really help everyone to see the benefits. And so I think Coach said it best when we opened our eyes to find, to say that we're aligning ourselves with a different set of peers. It was much easier. And we actually had two consultants. One was Bill Carr from Carr Sports Association Consulting, and then Mr. Fellingham, who came in at the end and presented to the Board of Trustees the business plan and all of that. And that led to the vote in 2005. Kyle, you had asked about the last two seasons in the CIAA. And I just want to add to that the success, our athletic budget was progressing. It was increasing in our revenue. It was due to all of the winning. And so there is a very direct correlation with funding and winning, and also winning coaches. And so I think we had a great combination to end our reign in the CIAA on that. So we had a culture of winning. We were getting, I started off, I think, with maybe one volleyball scholarship when I got here in 1994. By the time we were transitioning, I think I was up to 6 scholarships. So that contributed to the volleyball success. But also, again, funding sources. We went from a $2 million budget in our last year in Division II to now the high we've been is almost 14, 15 million. And so that has a huge impact on our coaches being able to have the resources they need on whatever level, whether it's Division II or Division I.
But Ingrid, that didn't just fall out happen through happenstance. We went out and found money. We started being very aggressive about raising money and going to alumni members and talking to them about giving and selling the fact that the state didn't give us any money for athletics. We had to raise our own money. And the only monies that we had were money from gate receipts and student fees and contributions. And so I remember you and I jumping in the car and riding to alumnus' houses and trying to get them to join the 1,000 Equals program. And as we began to acquire more revenue and more money, and coaches began to get more involved in the fundraising aspect, that contributed to the growth and contributed to them having more money for equipment and scholarships and travel. Then we started beating people. We just didn't all of a sudden start beating people without doing a lot of work to prepare our coaches and our teams to get to that point. And so that was, to me, was the fun part, is watching the coaches compete. And when we had our coaches meetings, if you remember back, we used to ask them, where are you now with your program? What is it going to take for you to win a championship? Who do you know that can give us a couple of $1,000s? Who do you know that can make a contribution? When are you going to write a letter to somebody or get on the phone and call somebody about contributing to this program? This ain't going to happen. This ain't going to fall out of the sky. Somebody got to do some work. And so when we begin to challenge coaches and when we begin to have people sit around the table and dream about what we want it to be and where we want it to go, and people start buying in, and all of a sudden somebody won a big game and came back to our head coaches meeting and talked about how he did it or she did it, and then it became contagious. And so coaches start competing against one another to have something good to say in those Thursday morning head coaches meetings. Nobody wanted to come to the head coaches meeting and he got beat to death, and sit around his peers and listen to Broadway talk about football wins and things like that. And nobody just wanted to sit there and listen to that. So coaches started really challenging themselves. And we began to build a team. And if you remember back, you and I demanded that all the coaches support one another. Football coaches had to come to volleyball games, and volleyball coaches had to support the football coaches at football games and baseball and the whole thing. And something that nobody probably knows, we had to add baseball. You remember? We didn't have enough. We didn't sponsor enough sports. So we wanted to rejuvenate baseball. Baseball, Central NCCU hadn't played baseball in 30 years. It had been dormant for 30 years. And so we wanted to put together a baseball team. I hope I'm getting this right. So I go down, we don't have a baseball, we landlocked, we don't have a baseball field. So I started running around Durham looking for some place to play baseball. And the Durham Bulls baseball stadium, something told me to go and talk to them about playing baseball in that stadium. So I called the general manager. You may have called the general manager for me, Ingrid. And when we go down to talk to the general manager over lunch about North Carolina Central starting a baseball program and playing its games at the Durham Bulls Stadium. So we sat down and had lunch, and I looked at the guy, and just he and I was sitting there, and I said, we've got to have this baseball program to be Division I. We really need you to let us use this stadium to practice and play in. And he looked at me, and I'll never forget. He said, Coach, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let you use this stadium to play college baseball and practice. So I wasn't about to take no for an answer. So I stood up and I walked over to the window. And I looked out the window and I said, come over here for a minute, sir. He walked over to the window and I pointed out the window. I said, do you see all that land out there, that big field over there, where 147 is, and where you all have built all it? I said, that was our backyard when I was growing up. I said, that's why we should play tag football and softball. And I said, that was our playground. Now it's your baseball stadium. I said, I should walk through that field going up to number 9 at the American Tobacco Company and take my daddy's lunch. I said, so this is my home. And you telling me that we can't play in my home? Is that what you're telling me? He said, Coach, you guys can play. And that's a true story. And we've been involved with the Durham Bulls ever since.
Good story. You can always count on Coach Hayes for some good stories, that's for sure. All right, we'll keep it going. We're going to keep going with the process. So on November 16, 2005, the NCCU Board of Trustees voted unanimously approving the university to move forward with making an application to the NCAA to reclassify its athletics program to Division I. So we've touched on some of the things that were involved, but Coach Hayes, outside of the athletics department, not many people realized the actual scope of the work that was going on during that time. Can you try to put the magnitude of it all into words?
It was massive, and I credit Ingrid. She was great. I mean, she was my right-hand person, and she did the majority of the planning and organizing and putting reports together for the board and all that. That's not my cup of tea. That ain't something that I want to do. I like to be out with the people and begging for money and challenging folks to do more than they thought they could do. So we had a perfect storm. She was the brains of the paperwork end of it, writing the stuff for the board and keeping Dr. Ammons abreast with through memos and that type thing. And I was on the pavement. I was out in the street trying to convince people to give us money, at least $1,000. And the crazy part about that is, why $1,000? I thought, people like to feel like you feel like they can afford it. I learned that along the way. I learned along the way that if you ask a man for $25, he know you're not about to do nothing. You're not about to build nothing asking somebody for $50, $25. But if you go and ask a man for $5,000, he look at you and say, wait a minute, this guy, he's serious. He thinks I got $5,000. He really getting ready to do something. This guy is serious. So let me see what can I do that? Am I capable of doing what he thinks I can do? So I learned along the way that people will surpass. People like to feel like you feel like they can afford to do what it is you think you want them to do. So we started a 1,000 Eagles program, and people used to find me on game day before I could put that name on the billboard. for giving $1,000. And of course, sometimes they would say, look, coach, I can't give you $1,000 today, but I give you $500 to just put my name on the board so that the guys that come to the game, when they look up there on the board and they don't see my name, then they would go back to the job and they on my behind because they're not on the board, and they call me a perpetrator, you know. And so I said, well, look, I'll put your name on, if you give me $500 toward the program, I'll go and put your initials up there. And then when you get your at least 1,000, I'll put your name up on the board. So we had a lot of fun, and we made a lot of friends, and people began to believe that we were going somewhere with this thing. And so, and our coaches began to feel that way. The people, the rec faculty and staff began to feel that we were making a big push, and we involving the community. We got the Hall of Fame involved. We made a big push with that to try to raise some money with that. And so it was a perfect storm. And we were excited. In fact, that was one of the most exciting times of my life. I'm sure it was Ingrid's also.
Would you classify it as exciting there, Dr. McCree? Talk about,
Well, you know, I always said that the greatest high, you talk about getting high, the greatest high you can get is when you commit yourself to doing something and you wake up at 5:30 in the morning, eyes wide open, can't wait to get a shower and get at it. To me, that's the greatest feeling that a person can have when you get excited about what you got to do. Get excited about building a program, get excited about taking something to the ultimate. And that's what we did.
And Coach would be here at 7:30 in the morning, looking out his window to see who else was coming in at that time, taking roles. So, and I will say the one of the biggest things I've learned from Coach is this see-do philosophy. If you see something that needs to be done, just do it. And so that has stuck with me ever since I've had the opportunity to work with Coach Hayes. It was challenging. I just remember Georgette, Kyle, Bulldog, let's see, Skip. All of us were just really working as hard as we could in each of our areas in terms of this process, because it was a very long process. You know, you think about 5 years, it went by extremely quickly, but it was a lot of work that had to be done. And so it was no way we could have done this without a team effort. From our trustees, from the leadership of the university, Dr. Brinson, hey Doc, everybody, everybody was involved. And I'm thinking, I know Squeeze is on the call. I think Squeeze was transitioning out by that time. I can't remember when Sean got here, but again, early on, it was challenging because you had to understand what the NCAA wanted you to do in their strategic plan. I do remember later in probably our year two is when ATN joined the team. And I think I probably drove her slam crazy because when Coach Hayes had me and then she became me. So I passed on all that to her. But it was a lot. Each year you had to do certain things. Our document went from a 57-page outline for our strategic plan to about 237 pages. By the end of that time, we had to do a lot of education in terms of our coaches, because DU2 rules are very different from Division I rules, academically, eligibility. We had to do a lot of educating of all of the academic advisors. So it was a huge task. It was very frustrating. Every year we would turn something into the NCAA and they were like, well, no, that's not good enough and that's not the format. So there was this invisible format that the document was supposed to be in. And we would ask, I think, University of Northern Colorado, everyone that had gone through the transition before us were our best friends. And everybody's document was different. So the NCAA did not have a template for you to follow. And so if you know me, I'm a very process-minded person and I need a template. I need how step 1, 2, and 3. And it was not like that. So very uncomfortable during that time period, but we managed to get through. And it was just a lot of work, a lot of pain. Coach Hayes, when he left and went to FAMU, he said, Ingrid, you are going to go down a big black hole. Thanks, coach. And we did. But at least he told us, you know, sometimes it's all about, if you know what you're getting yourself into, you can deal with it better. And so, so trying to meet all the requirements of the NCAA, you know, with the MEAC, adding the baseball, you know, trying to move that forward, and God bless his soul, Coach White did a wonderful job of really starting back our program up. And so it was a lot. You know, we went through a lot of people. Unfortunately, that was a challenge for me because I grew up with my career with some of my coaching peers from very early on. And so transitioning from a peer to now their manager slash, I don't like to say boss, captain, was challenging at the same time. And so a lot of good people that were here, very successful, were not here anymore. And so it was just a lot, you know, and I was very happy when it was over, but you can't get better and you can't be good without adversity. So it's something that we all had to go through. I think the biggest challenge was keeping the student athletes morale and the coaches high, and that was hard. I remember Kyle
reclassifying and without a conference to call home, playing a lot of road games. Most of the programs experienced challenging during those early years of the process. Coach, you know, you were still around until December of 2007, so you had a little bit of a taste of that. What was the feeling around the department during that time when, again, they're used to celebrating championships and all of a sudden they're taking their lumps?
Well, you know, I had a background in Division One. Unlike Ingrid and some of the others, I started out at Wake Forest in Division One, and then I was at A&T in Division One. So I kind of knew what the level of talent that we had to have, and so I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and that the key to the whole thing is you had to have revenue, you had to have money. You know, you had to have money to do the kind of recruiting and to provide the resources, and we had to improve our facilities, and we still got some work to do with that at NCCU. Athletes love quality facilities, and moms and dads love it when you come in their home talking full of scholarships and books and that type of thing. So the more facilities we can acquire, and the more income we can build in the athletic department, the easier it gets. You know, the thing that bothers us most is that we need full support from all our alumni. We need contributions. We need people to give. We don't need people to tell us what needs to be done and watch us go through all that we have to go through to put winning teams on the field, and they don't provide the resources. And I want to jump kind of ahead of you because this time right now really frightens me for our schools, because we're going to lose a whole revenue stream this fall in football. And that has driven the athletic programs. And so now is the time when people really need to give. When people really need to write checks, because we're going to all take a hit. And the degree of the hit that we're going to take depends on how much our people reach back and give abundantly. And that has to happen for us to survive.
That's true. It's a good time to mention that there is currently a campaign going on, right? Dr. McCree, you want to talk about that since Coach Hayes brought it up?
I know, and I'm going to circle back to fundraising too in the early days. But yes, our Stronger Together campaign, our goal is $1 million in cash this year. And so part of that, the first phase of the campaign is the virtual homecoming sellout. So we are challenging everyone to purchase a seat or multiple seats for $100 so that we can sell out the stadium. If we sell out the stadium, that's a $870,000 right there. And our goal is to achieve that between now and November, our homecoming. So it's a wonderful idea. I think I'm very appreciative to Jamal and his team for putting this all together, and we're on our way. I think we're at $16,000, and we just started on Friday, I believe. So I know that we can do this. And yes, echoing what Coach Hayes is saying in terms of the need, we're probably will lose about $892,000 in what could have been received in season tickets and gate receipts on game day. And so our budget has gone from last year 12.8 to now it is at 10.5. And if we do not play football, we will be down to about $8 million by the spring. And so if you can imagine trying to run the operations of our program, our scholarships cost about 4.4 million alone. And so we are thin, very, very thin this semester. But I know that our alumni and our friends and supporters of the program will step up. I wanted to kind of circle back to Kyle. You're talking about some of the first few years. I did talk about the budget already, but also recruiting was extremely important for our coaches. And so we poured a lot of money into scholarships and a lot of money into recruiting because there were 16 other Division I programs in North Carolina. And so we were very low on the totem pole when it came to recruiting North Carolina kids. And so it was important that we put money there. Also, too, I have to thank, and I know David, I think David Fitz is on the call. I remember Skip and I, we were talking about, it might have been Willie Jude at the time, a booster club. And one of the things the NCAA said that we needed to have a more structured fundraising arm. And so we were right about to launch off of Coach Hayes' 1,000 Eagles. It was going to become the Soaring Eagles. And Jim Tyson, Judge Thigpen, Cressy Thigpen, Ed Stewart, former trustee Stewart, and David Fitz came to us and said, okay, let's combine all of our groups. So we had a basketball group and a football group and all kind of groups. And so we came together and we merged all of those clubs into the Eagle Club. So we are very, very grateful to those individuals because they knew as well that we were not going to get it done and being so fragmented in our fundraising. And so again, as Coach Hayes mentioned, fundraising is essential. And it's going to be the heartbeat of this program this year. And so I know, again, please share information about what we're doing. And I look forward to seeing all 69 names on the donor wall before homecoming.
All right, sounds good. So getting back to our progression through the Division I process, again, on this date, August 11th in 2011, NCCU received that letter from the NCAA confirming the active membership of Division I athletics. So with all of the administrative work that it took to get to that day, Dr. McCree, what was that moment like when you got that letter?
Knowing me, I probably cried. ATN, do you remember, did I cry? I probably cried. Just a sigh of relief, a sigh of, just very appreciative of, I'm tearing up now. I just remember because it was just very overwhelming to go through something like that in terms of taking a program and transitioning it to Division I. And so just overwhelming without me getting emotional now. That's what I remember. And also, I think maybe I took a day and then I was like, okay, let's hit it. Right. I was on Coach Hayes' train. I wasn't in at 7:30 or 5:30 in the morning, but I was on the same page then in terms of let's go full speed ahead. And I do believe our peers in the MEAC would say we were doing a lot of great things and a lot of new things that some of them had not done. And a lot of it's because we had to, because division, NCAA said you have to have these things in place. And so I do believe we did a lot of first as a department, as a program, that gave us that positioning in the conference, early on.
And Coach Hayes, you were no longer on staff at that time, but as an alumnus and the AD that kind of got the ball rolling towards Division I, I imagine you were still following what was going on. Do you remember that day?
I remember, and remember well. Uh, However, I had my own challenges because I took a story program that was $8 million in the hole, and I had to move it forward. So,
That's why
I really,
I didn't down there, Coach. That's why I didn't come down there.
I tried to get Ingrid to go with me, but it's really no easy way to do it. You just gotta have the resources, and I'm excited about seeing what Jamal is doing with the fundraising piece and what Ingrid is doing with the fundraising piece overall, and I'm certainly going to be a supporter. And you don't have to worry about me having mine where it needs to be, because mine will be there. Because I understand, most folk, they get amnesia when it comes to time to put up. They think that all of a sudden some magic gonna happen on game day. Nothing magic gonna happen on game day. You gotta put things in place financially. You gotta get the best athletes money can buy. You got the best equipment money can buy, the best facilities money can buy, and then you win championships. And so it's coaching may be overrated. I think coaching may be overrated. Brinson would tell you that coaching is overrated. But if you get everything in place, all of a sudden things start getting easier.
And that's coming from a Hall of Fame coach right there. So there's got to be some truth to that. So in 2013-14, just the third season as a Division I program, the NCCU men's basketball team defeated ACC foe NC State. They won the MEAC tournament championship and became the first HBCU to earn a number 14 seed into March Madness.
Wow.
And then just 3 seasons later, in 2016-17, NCCU became the only Division I FCS program to win an outright conference championship in football, the men's basketball conference regular season championship, and the men's basketball conference tournament title. Again, in just 6 seasons as a Division I program at that point, NCCU was enjoying success that most programs had never experienced before. Dr. McCree, how did that happen?
So again, our fundraising was improving. We've had probably 2 or 3 or 4 different leaders in our development office, and each one has brought something new and great to the table. And so when we kept moving that needle, the Eagle Club kept, generating more support. But also too, we focus on scholarships and recruiting. And so giving the coaches the power to go out there and find those top athletes and not have to worry about, well, I only have $2 left in my budget, so now I got to figure out how to spread that $2 out. For them to be able to have, especially in men's basketball, women's basketball, and football, almost a full complement of the maximum allotment of scholarships, that's very powerful. And now they can go out and go anywhere they want to find those student athletes. I also think too, following the plan, the strategic plan was just not there to just go sit somewhere. And so we followed a plan. We made sure all the coaches understood what the plan is. We made sure all the coaches had their own strategic plans. And so I think that was very instrumental, as well as hiring of assistant coaches. For many years, a lot of the coaches only had some didn't have any full-time coaches, assistant coaches. And so now when you're adding those support staff to a program, that coach now that takes some of the pressure off of having to do everything. And so I think we went from 25 people full-time, I think when Coach Hayes left, to over 60 full-time staff members, and very strategically placed, very strategically added as we went along in those areas, so that the coaches could really now start focusing on their programs, the X's and O's, building young men and young women. So that helped. And then leadership too. I've worked for 7 chancellors in 26 years, 4 since I've been in this seat. This is going on my 13th year. So that is a challenge. However, fortunately for us, all of our board of trustees that have changed over the years, our chairs, Trustee Holloway is here tonight, and those 4 chancellors have always been very supportive and understood the value add of an athletics program, of a Division I athletics program. And so when you have support from the top, it does make it much easier when you're to do the things that you have to do. And I'm always telling people, ATN in her first AD job at Kentucky State, now at Winston, make sure that leadership is there and they're supportive and they understand athletics, because if not, you're going to have a more challenging route to go through in terms of getting the things that you need for your student athletes. And so I have to credit, you know, Chancellor Akinleye, but Dr. Saunders White, if you ever saw her at a game, if she could put on a uniform in any sport, she was going to do that. So again, you have to have that support from the top to understand what winning does for a university. When we won in 2016 with football, which started off that year, you know, I'd like to say that our admissions applications went up, you know, the visibility of the university. I think we got a report from the Celebration Bowl that year that said that win and playing in the Celebration Bowl generated almost $15 million in free publicity, you know, TV, print, and radio. And so we can't buy that as a university. And so knowing that the leadership understands winning helps the culture of the university, that means a lot. And that's what we have. We've had that and we still have that.
And Dr. McCree, you mentioned the strategic plan. As you are very familiar, we just unveiled a new strategic plan last week. So
Yes.
How will that strategic plan now shape the next 5 years for NCCU athletics?
I am so excited. That was a labor of true love. Kyle actually was the co-chair with Johnny Sutherland. And I'm just so proud that we had the feedback that we got from all of the stakeholders that's related to this program, from the student athletes, former student athletes, alums, our corporate partners. And so you truly feel that this is a living and breathing document because of the feedback and how we put this all together. And so, yes, we launched it on last Sunday. We have a work plan for every single year of things that we're going to do. And like I said, it's not going to sit anywhere on the shelf. It's going to guide us. It's our roadmap for the next 5 years. And we all believe in it. I presented it to the student athletes while via Zoom. And so it's so important that we share that with everyone. It's so important that you all, as our supporters and alum, you all know what we're going to do and hold us accountable. You know, make sure that, you know, you may call me one day and say, well, hey, did you ever put together that ambassador group of business people? And I'm like, not yet. Hold me accountable, because that's what we need. And so that plan is going to serve as that guide for the next 5 years.
And in that plan, what are some of the major initiatives that is really going to have an impact on the future of NCCU athletics?
So one of the things in terms of student athlete success, where we're going to continue to focus on our academics and our student athlete wellness and development, we're going to start a leadership academy. UNC Chapel Hill has had one for years, in which all of their freshmen, it starts off their first year, and they go through different modules as they matriculate through the university. And so that's the one big piece under student athlete success that we're going to do. We also will be looking for funding to help fund that program for the Leadership Academy. Under athletic achievement, one of the big things is facilities, and the university has a master plan. We have not rebuilt it yet, but I'm so happy to say, because when y'all left, they had a master plan in 2008, and I remember going to the meeting and I was like, well, where's athletics? And they said, oh, it's going to be over there by McDougal Terrace. And I said, oh, okay. So I think, Coach, you remember that, all that talk about McDougal Terrace. And so now the new strategic or master plan for the university includes athletics. And so that's going to be extremely important moving forward, because at this point we're not maxed out with our scholarships in terms of what we're providing coaches, but we are close to it. And that's not enough. We need the facilities, because these student athletes, today's student athlete wants to see facilities, solid facilities. I think under financial responsibility, we want to grow our budget to about 17 million. The average FCS budget is about 14 million right now. Of course, it's going to slowly increase over the next 5 years, but that is going to be very integral to our success. And that includes our ticket sales. Jamal and his group, his team, they're phenomenal with in terms of our ticket sales, but then they're so creative with other new ideas of increasing revenue, like our cabanas and like all of the different ticket packages that we're doing now, like the campaign that we're doing. And then collaborative partnerships. My goal this year is to start similar to a board of visitors that our law school has, the School of Education has one, the College of Arts and Sciences. So my goal, and this is my I guess Jamal is holding me accountable for that, but is to seek and identify individuals who can serve on this group as a council or ambassadors to me, basically, and to the athletics program. So those are a few other things in terms of the strategies for our objectives and our goals.
That's great. So we've kind of come to the full transition. We're brought it up to talking about the future. So let's take just a quick look back, going through the process, and this is for each of you. Is there anything that you would have done differently now that you look back on it? You want to start us off, Mr. Hayes?
You know, the thing that I'm really, really proud of is when I turn the TV on, when I think about the body of work that we did to take that program to Division I, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and then I turn that TV on and I see a ticker tape run down the bottom of my TV and I see North Carolina Central University score. When I turn on the sports page, and no matter where I am, and I see North Carolina Central, that's worth its weight in gold. The entire nation can now see that there is a North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. Win, lose, or draw. And you can't buy that amount of publicity. And I think that if anything encourages me and incites, gets me excited about what we've been, it's when I see Lavelle playing and I see the scores run from the next day at the bottom of that TV. The highlights on national and regional TV on a job well done.
Dr. McCree, anything you would have done differently?
Probably would have focused on facilities a little bit more. Certainly we've done some upgrades and renovations to some locker rooms, but really trying to advocate and push for more support in upgrading the facilities. I think that has been one of the things that I know is one of the things that's challenging most of our programs, especially football. I have all the confidence in the world with Coach Oliver and what he's going to do, but I've got to help him, and we've got to help him with a facility. And so I probably would have focused a little bit more on facilities, and also too, maybe more focus on our academic support staff. APR and eligibility is extremely different from Division II. And I think probably providing a little bit more support in that area early on. I think it was just probably Mr. Bennett and Nicole. I think Nicole's on the call too. Hey, Nicole. So there was probably two of them trying to, do advising for 200-300 student athletes. And so probably would have put more support. And even though we still have done well, but more support in academic support, and then more advocating for our facilities. But other than that, no. More sleep.
That still hangs true today now. So let's make this a little personal. So both of you have achieved so many accomplishments and awards and things like that during your professional careers. If you had to cite one achievement or one award, one honor during your professional career, what would that be? Coach Hayes?
Wow.
I know there's a lot for you.
Oh.
He's only in 10 Hall of Fames.
Is that all?
God, I'm so proud. I grew up in Durham. I grew up not far from downtown Durham, and to have grown up in a poverty-stricken area in a 3-room shotgun house with 5 brothers and sisters, and mom and dad were laborers, and to be able to navigate and really navigate and through all that I have seen and had to do, and to think that I could one day be in Northern England and the next day be in Japan, and so that's what I'm most proud of, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of effort, and I'm proud of North Carolina Central for giving me the opportunity to get my education there, and I will support it until I die.
Well, congratulations, Coach Hayes, on an outstanding career, everything that you've accomplished. It's really remarkable. Dr. McCree, how about you?
I would say just recently we started the Division I Black AD Alliance, and it's 59 Black men and women that are Division I ADs, which is probably more than it's ever been. Of that, it's less than 8 women that are in Division I, and probably I think overall Division I, II, and III for Black women is probably less than 30. Would you say 18? I'm almost positive. And so I think for me, receiving the NACDA Under Armour AD of the Year award, and to know that one of my peers nominated me, and a group of peers that include the Power 5 to FCS to Division II, FCS voted for me out of I don't know however many people, but I think that has really, you don't think about the things that you accomplished until you sit down and you sit back and you look at your resume, or you look at those when you receive an award. And so I would say that award is probably one of the most precious things to me, just from all of the hard work. And I know I could not have received that had we not won football, had Lavelle not won 4 championships, or 3 at that time. Had Kurt not won and I don't know where he went. He's still there. Not won the HBCU title for men's tennis in I think 2014. So all of those accomplishments that we did as a team, I could not have received that award or even been thought of for that award without everyone, the team. And so that award probably was one of the most precious accomplishments for me thus far. Thus far. Because we're gonna win some more.
Yes. Well, that was well deserved. I know a lot of the staff traveled up there to be with you. I was proud to be there myself. So that was a great occasion. So we have a few more minutes for some closing remarks. Coach Hayes, you want to share some closing remarks with us?
I want to congratulate Ingrid on the job that she has done. She has been there from the beginning, and she was by my side from the very beginning. And of course, when the time came for me to exit, I was the one that pushed and pulled and tugged at folk to make sure that she was awarded with the athletic director's job at North Carolina Central. I think she has done a marvelous job. I want to give a shout out to the Kevin Holloway and the Board of Trustees at Central for all the support that they continue to give, and my buddy over in Raleigh, who was our faculty rep, Les Brinson, and all the people who have continued to support our program for years. Hope Donald Thomas is doing well down at Rocky Mount. He was our quarterback when I played football back. I did play football back in the day. And so I'm just so proud of my university. I'm so proud of the way it's prospering and moving forward.
Great. Dr. McCree?
Well, thank you, Coach. I had a great role model. I will say that. And so I can always call Coach when I'm in a rut or when I'm not in a rut, and he always has an answer. And if he doesn't have an answer, he makes me think about the answer. And so I appreciate his support. I would just say that it's been, such a privilege for me to be able to be at home, as a Durham native, and to see this program grow, see Durham grow. And there's so many more opportunities that we haven't even there's just limitless opportunities. We're going to keep doing the things that we need to do to push the envelope. We're going to keep doing innovative and new things. We just partnered with Peak Sports, which is a sports sponsorship agency that's going to help us generate sponsorship dollars. But I'm just very, very proud. There's no other words that I can say other than how proud I am to be a part of the Eagle family. You know, NCCU runs deep in my blood. Both my parents are graduates, and now I have a daughter that finished her classwork yesterday, I think yesterday, yes. And so she will have her degree from NCCU in December. And so just very proud of everything that we've done. I'm very thankful to every single person that has gone through this department. And also to, I think I saw Chris Jones and Chris Mashak, to know that we are producing leaders in athletics. We are producing coaches that are out there doing great jobs. And so I just want everything that touches North Carolina Central University and this athletics program to be a bright and shining light wherever they go. And that is our commitment. That is my commitment until the last days. I joke with everyone because I have 2 years to get 30 years in the state system. Everybody should be clapping for that. But I've loved every single minute, and please, you know, I've been as accessible as I can be, and I'm still, Kyle didn't want me to be at first, but I think it's so important that I'm accessible for you. And so Ms. Stevenson, Mabel, you know, you can call me anytime, especially when our bathrooms are not cleaned in the stadium. She will call me on game day and let me know. And so I think that's a credit to all of our success, because everyone knows that you can call, you can tell us, you can let us know what you need, what we need to do better, and we're going to try to do that. So I really appreciate this. Congratulations to all of you, all of us. This is something that we have achieved together these 10 years, and I'm ready to win some more championships.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Hayes, Dr. McCree, we thank you so much for sharing your insights and your stories as this Division I process has unfolded and continues to unfold before our eyes. So thank you so very much for participating tonight.
Well, Cal, I just want to say that we've got miles to go before we sleep. And this COVID virus thing in athletics really worries me. And so I'm just hoping that all Eagles everywhere will reach down and dig deep in their pocketbooks and send a check down to support the athletic program, because we're going to take a big hit this fall by not having football revenue. And that's, the state's not going to give us that money. We've got to come up with that money ourselves. So we don't need everybody looking at everybody else waiting on somebody else to do it. We need everybody to reach deep down in their pockets and write a check and send it to North Carolina Central Athletics to support that great program.
And you can do that by visiting NCCUFansCentral.com and purchase your virtual seat for the virtual homecoming sellout. So as soon as you sign off tonight, again, you can go to NCCUFansCentral.com and see how you can support NCCU athletics moving forward. So thanks again. Please stay tuned for some more information about other events as we celebrate our 10th season as a Division I program. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Eagle Pride.
Amplified.